And so if you're saying you want something, you have all these targets, these goals, you have your vision board and etc., but deep down you don't believe that you deserve it, then you're not going to ever be a match. Another way of saying it is when you shift your identity, you're going to shift your destiny. It's not the destiny that shifts the identity, it's the identity that shifts the destiny. And so if you don't see yourself as an abundant person, if you don't see yourself as deserving to receive abundance, then even though you're working very hard and you're putting in all the action and the doing, one, you may repel it subconsciously, or it may come and you will get rid of it for sure.
Today's guest is Bolutiwi Aiyesimoju. Drawing from her 22 years international career on the corporate fast track as an entrepreneur, she has gained unique insight into challenges faced by driven women professionals. In pursuit of success, she personally experienced burnt out and used this challenging experience as a catalyst for transformation. Now she brings this wealth of experience and deep insight to the work she does with women, helping them unlock peak performance with peace, prosperity, and fulfillment. Today, she is the #1 best-selling author. Over 65,000 leaders have participated in her programs. She has crafted with love and a commitment to sustainable transformation. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Anita. It's good to be here.
Oh, I'm really excited for this. There's lots of questions I'd like to ask you. So here we go. So, what is one of the most courageous things that you have done?
I think one of the most courageous things I've done is leaving a cushy corporate career where people thought, wow, you're working in this huge international firm, you you're on the fast track, you have a cushy salary, you travel the world, business class, you live in Dubai in a beautiful condo, beachfront. I mean, all of the material perks.
Mhm.
And deciding that that was no longer where I was meant to be and letting go of the known track, the comfortable track, the comfort zone, what
Mhm.
people respected, that took courage.
I'm sure. Absolutely. So, how did your journey transition from the corporate to the coaching world?
That's a good question. Well, when I was leaving corporate, I although I had had this career for 14 years and it was intense and I loved it and I was excited about going to work and it was really something that I loved and I enjoyed.
Mm,
At, towards the end of it, I started getting this prompts and I was looking for something more. So although I had achievement, I didn't have fulfillment.
mhm,
And one thing I had seen a lot of during my time in corporate was people, and I would say especially women, bending themselves into pretzels to fit in.
Oh, wow.
And fit in many ways. Like it or not, women and men's roles in society are not exactly equal. They might be equally of value, but not equal in terms of how they're shared. One, and then second of all, also if you walk into a place which is a man's world with
Mm,
masculine codes, how do you operate and be treated as a leader and be respected? Anyway, that's another conversation. So going back to what I was saying, I had seen many women bend themselves into pretzels, and this really rubbed me up the wrong way. I was like, no. And so towards the end, I started asking myself, what is it that I really would love to do? What will bring me fulfillment? What would light my soul up? And there were a few directions. One direction was going and working for a women's NGO, an NGO that focused on women. The other direction was going into therapy, so being a therapist,
mhm.
and the other one was coaching. And I remember telling one of my friends I was thinking of going to work with the United Nations, big impact, and the friend was like, "Bolutiwi, if you think working in this, I used to work at L'Oreal before, is slow because I move very, very quickly. You would literally kill yourself if you go to the United Nations." I was like, okay, don't want to become a statistic. And so I thought about therapy and I thought, therapy has its place. no doubt about it. However, for me personally, there's no way I want anyone on my couch for 12 years. It's just like we can't be talking about this. Like it's just not my personality, right? As I said, okay, coaching. I like coaching. We're at A. We want to go to B. How do we do that? What kind of time scales and what do we get to? It's aspirational, right? And so I decided to become a coach. So I did a lot of work on myself first. There was a lot to release and unpack. I also trained as a coach. So, because some people think, oh, you can just wake up in the morning and become a coach. Well, you could, because you could call yourself a coach. However, are you really serving your clients properly if you don't acquire certain skills?
Absolutely.
And so, yes, I trained. I did the work on myself. I trained coach, and then I started working with clients. And just to bring back something, when I was thinking about the name of my brand, what came to me was that I was tired of people bending themselves into pretzels. I really wanted people to show up in their full, authentic essence. Hence the name of my brand, which is Magni Essence, which is short for Magnify Your Essence. So that's a very long answer to your very short question. How did I come to be a coach?
No, but I love it. And I love your analogy of the pretzel because it's so clear and absolutely how many women do bend themselves to fit in. Absolutely. So tell me about you had burnt out. So is that where you decided really to decide I need to go in a different direction?
So burnout for me was not a one-day process. Anyone who's
Mm,
burnt out may relate.
mm,
It was a really slow burn initially, right?
mhm,
And you don't really realize what's going on if you're not familiar with the signs, which is why it's so good to be educated about these things. So first of all, um, the usual signs: high stress levels, getting really. I mean, I'm naturally a night owl. At 10 p.m., I'd be like a zombie, like literally zombie, like couldn't function. Another thing that happened was that I was very jumpy when there would be a sound, like my phone would ring, and I would literally jump out of my skin. And so everyone around you had to put your phones off. They're like, she's crazy, but like, no, I can't have phones ringing. Then very highly irritable. So of course, life is life. People do things that annoy you, but the rate at which I would get annoyed, or the intensity to which I would get annoyed, was definitely not. It was definitely something was up. Um,
mm,
and then other signs, my hormones were all over the place. My cycle was, ugh, I was thinking, what's going on? I couldn't, my body and I were simply not in phase any longer, but I now know my body was trying to
mm,
tell me to stop my nonsense. It was giving me signals. And so burnout for me wasn't like a one and done. And it was a signal for me. So now I see burnout as the most beautiful, loving invitation to really stop and take a pause and reflect on, is what you're doing in alignment with your soul?
mm,
Because burnout, I find, is when you're going through the motions but your soul has departed. And the big lesson for me was that, yes, I'm strong mentally. And I used to think, oh, my mental is my strength. But I now realize that no, my strength comes from much deeper. It's in my heart and soul. So if my heart and my soul are on board, then of course it's done. If my heart and soul are not on board and I'm just rationalizing and going through the motions, everything becomes heavy. And so
mhm,
you burn out for sure. So it wasn't so much a function of the amount of work I was doing, although it wasn't. I used to say, or I do say, I was working with the intensity of a Formula One driver and the dedication of a doctor on call, and not for a weekend. I was doing this year in, year out.
yeah,
So that will take its toll on your body. It will take its toll on your emotions and your mental and everything. The most important thing for me was when my heart was no longer aligned, when my soul was saying, "This, you're done here, go into your next phase," and I wasn't listening. When the
mm,
joy was no longer there. So if there is no joy in what you do, oof. I mean, for me, that is the path to
mhm.
burnout. And so that's how that happened, really.
I absolutely love that. And so eloquently explained. Thank you. So, talk me through a bit about breaking through your abundance crisis codes. I'd like to know more about that because you specialize in some work around that.
Yes. So I'm a high achiever, and the women that work with me are usually high achievers as well. And there's so many levels to that. And what I say to people is you don't get what you want. You don't get what you say you want. You get what you believe you deserve. And so if you're saying you want something, you have all this targets, this goals, you have your vision board and etc., but deep down you don't believe that you deserve it, then you're not going to ever be a match.
Mm.
Another way of saying it is when you shift your identity, you're going to shift your destiny. It's not the destiny that shifts the identity, it's the identity that shifts the destiny.
Mm.
And so if you don't see yourself as an abundant person, if you don't see yourself as deserving to receive abundance, then even though you're working very hard and you're putting in all the action and the doing, one, you may repel it subconsciously, or it may come and you will get rid of it for sure, which is why people who win the lottery, some of them lose all their millions in a few years.
Absolutely.
And so I have a program called Rekindle, and it has 6 phases. And the last phase is receive. And you can say receive. Why do we need a phase for receive? Receiving is the easiest thing in the world. Not true. There's this thing where society has told people, especially women, that giving is better than receiving. Giving is the honorable thing. It's a thing to do to please, as opposed to receive. And you can't, think about if you take a breath and you exhale, you can't keep exhaling. You've got to take another breath to exhale. Both go hand in hand. And so breaking through those codes takes, first of all, the awareness of what it is that is in the way of you being in your identity of an abundant human.
Mm-hmm.
And each person may have their flavor of that. And then choosing to release that.
Mm-hmm.
So the first phase of rekindle is to release the shame, the blame, the guilt, etc. Then we step into relaxing. You may say, why do we need something for relaxing? Well, the whole world is stressed out of its mind, one. And two, stress is one of the most, it's one of the most intimate friends of staying in a scarcity and poverty mindset.
Mm.
Because if you think about it, Anita, when you're stressed, you are constricted. You're not seeing all the possibilities. You are in sort of fight or flight mode, right? That is not the mode of what are the opportunities? There may be challenges. How can I overcome them? How can I be creative? I know I'm good. No. And so really stepping into that, understanding that rest is vital, rest is strategic, rest is not lazy. In fact, rest is your birthright, not something you deserve as a dessert, right? It's not something that you do because, it's not a reward. That is so important. So we release first, we relax, and then we reconnect. And so this one is one of my favorite. Many women are all about what my husband said, what my mother said, what my father said, what my children said, what everyone said. And people forget who they are, like literally forget who they are. And I'm not saying that being self-centered in a sort of egoistic way is the answer. I'm simply saying there's no true giving without it coming from a space of true desiring to do so. When it comes from I have to do it, otherwise I will not be liked, so people pleasers listen up, then it's not true giving. You're just doing it, and then there's resentment because the other person doesn't even notice that you've made any sacrifices. And even if you tell them, like, I didn't ask you to do that, why did you sacrifice your life for me, right? And so reconnecting with yourself, walking to the beat of your own heart, right? And then stepping into the next phase, which is re-envisioning. So, okay, my life is on this track. It's right now on this track. Great. Do I like it? Is it something I celebrate? If yes, keep going. If no, what parts of my life am I tolerating right now? What is it that I truly desire? Not what you think you can have. Because what you think you can have will be based on the old version of yourself, your old identity. And if it's not serving you, no one's interested. What do I want? What's my dream? Let's go big. What's my big, hairy, audacious goal?
Mm-hmm.
And that tuning into that, but that needs to come after you've released the old, you started to open up to relax, to know you're safe, then you've now reconnected with that essence of yourself so you can see the world from a different perspective. And then you go into rejoicing. And rejoicing is one of my favorite parts because you flip the script from saying, oh, I will believe what I see. You go into, because I believe, I will see. And when you believe that what you desire has happened or is happening or is imminent, you are totally convinced it's happening. You're already grateful. You're already
Mm-hmm.
joyful. You're not waiting for the thing to happen to be happy.
Yeah.
No, you're good. You're just waiting for it. Like if you order something on Amazon, no one's thinking, oh, is it going to come? You know it's coming. Like you're not worried. You're excited. Who? When am I going to open my package? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that stepping into the joy being not, it won't be constant, that will be a tale, but being your comfort zone, being the place where you are most of the time is what will magnetize the life that you desire. And also think about it, if you're always waiting for something to happen for you to feel joyful, then your life will be little bursts of joy in between all the times you were working for it, instead of being constantly joyful,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then working at the same time, taking action so that things can come to you bigger, better, and with more ease, which then steps you into receiving. Receiving, knowing that receiving it's natural and it's a way of giving. Because if you receive with gratitude and joy, the person who gives it to you also benefits. They're
Mm-hmm.
happy. They feel, oh, I can support you. I also am useful in this relationship. It's not always you doing things for me. Right. So those are the 6 hours of rekindle, release, taking out the weeds, relax, reconnect, re-envision, rejoice, and receive.
Absolutely love that. So yeah, it is important, but can you just touch on why we have to rejoice even more about receiving in the process? Because tell me more about that, because it's an interesting concept and I've never really thought about it like that, but it's so important, isn't it?
It is. And I like
Mm.
that you asked a question. So think about your thoughts as spears. So you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about something, you sent a spear out, and your feelings as magnets. So when you have a plan or a goal, you've thought something, you're thinking things, great, and that's sending out spears to the world. And you're taking action. All my high achievers know about action. That's not their problem. They are doers. They will do. But if you're thinking thoughts and taking action from a frustrated, negative,
Mm-hmm.
low vibration energy, doubting, worrying, etc., can you see that your magnet is not going to magnetize the things that you want? You're going to be magnetizing everything you don't want.
Absolutely.
So joy, and the joy doesn't even have to be about the particular project. You can just take joy in a nice mango you add, or joy in the
Mm-hmm.
blue sky, or joy in anything. Anything that brings you joy is good because it's not discriminatory. It's not saying, oh, did you feel joy for this particular thing? No. So when you are able to feel more gratitude and joy, those two are truly
Mm-hmm.
connected, right? You raise your vibration so you become a match for that which you desire.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like somebody calling you, you're either going to get through, or you'll say this number is disconnected, or this ringtone, or this line is down. Your line, your desires will be down if you're not on the same frequency.
Mm-hmm. That's beautifully put. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. So my next question is, what makes your Rekindle program stand out from other personal growth programs, particularly for high achieving women?
So the Rekindle program is not just a course.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually a deep transformational online retreat.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of the way the program is curated is that it's not only focusing on your mind. Many high achieving women they live in their heads, right? but it is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And there's another aspect which is spatial. We also work about what's in your space. Very few programs bring all of those things together.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I understand that when you're pouring water, if there's a leaky hole in the bucket, then you're wasting your time. So I'm making sure that from all angles, I've got my clients, which is why the transformational shifts that they experience are incredible.
Mm.
Right? I mean, from a client who came in saying she wanted to do $200,000 in a year, in 3 months of working together, she had already made $120,000,
Wow.
right? By opening her mouth, showing up differently, just being that magnet. Another one who had been for a very, very long time out of a relationship, had been very hurt in a previous relationship, who found love, even got engaged to a man who truly showed up in a loving way for her, which was definitely unusual, right? Clients learning to truly show up in their genius without fear of, oh, what are the people going to say,
Yeah.
right? And so miracles have happened on the program. I mean, from physical healing to relationship shifts to money coming in incredible ways towards them to stress levels going down to just so much occurs.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's because of the vortex of a container that is created, number one. And number two, the level of accountability that there is, which takes results from basically zero to pretty much 95% success.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is why Rekindle is so different. The transformations are deep and they're sustainable. It's not something that my clients write me months after, oh, this is happening and this is happening, and years
Mm-hmm.
after this is happening. One person wrote to me the other day and said, I want to thank you because thanks to you, I no longer live with fear.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, okay. This is years after I've worked with her. And so the sustainability as well is so important.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And who doesn't want that in their life? So, why do you call yourself a next level living coach? And what does that mean to you? I think you've kind of just explained that, but I'll ask you the question anyway.
A next level living coach for me means that if a woman wants to stay in her current status quo and, her comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone and is not really interested in what's next for her, then I'm not the person for her. If a woman really says, look, I have come this far, I'm already successful in this domain. However, I know that I can be more, do more, and have more. But I'm also aware that there's something that is in my way, although I'm not necessarily quite clear about what it is. And I am prepared to do whatever it takes to make sure that I fully live this life and I don't get to the end of my life and just have a ton of regrets.
Yeah.
So I am about helping my clients, igniting in my clients the desire to burn down all the things that are in the way of them living the most incredible life. I am there to support them to really step into that new identity that is required for the next level of life they want, whether it be love or business or
Mm.
spiritual, whatever it is, right? And because that shift is not going to be comfortable, it's the birth of a new identity, for Pete's sake,
Mm.
right? That is why I support that process, right? My clients know I will hold you high. It's not the space for the excuses and, arguing for the limitations and saying, oh, you
Mm.
poor thing. No, right? And so it's really about the person who's ready for that next level of
Yeah.
identity so they can have the next level of their destiny.
That's brilliant. And so I can see why, but just for the listeners, tell me why is courage so important then?
Courage is essential,
Mm.
actually,
Mm.
because when you're shifting into a new destiny, a new identity, a new
Mm.
anything, you're going into the unknown.
Mhm.
But this is not where you can come and say, oh, I know this, I've got this. This is not where my controllers out there can be in full control, right? Or my perfectionist can say, oh, I've done this 20,000 times, so I know exactly how it's going to go. You don't know how it's going to go.
Mm.
And so this is where you get to step into courage. And courage from the French etymology means open-hearted.
Mm.
Cœur is the heart, right? And so you can't just operate from your head. There has to be something that pulls you that's more than logic, right? Where you get to feel fear if that is showing up, and still do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So without courage, it's impossible to step into this next level. And courage doesn't mean you don't get support. In fact, some people asking for support is the scary thing. That's where courage comes in.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And I can understand that. So tell me about the gift you'd like to share with our listeners today.
Well, thank you for asking me. So I have a really, really, really good gift. One of the things that I know that many high achievers, perfectionists, controllers out there suffer from is this idea that in order to be loved, in order to be respected, in order to be good at what you do, you have to be perfect, flawless, right? And I want to just debunk that right now. We're all human, one, we all have flaws too. And so I'd invite you to embrace the concept of flawsomeness. Yes, I am flawed, and yes, I am awesome. I am flawsome. And so the gift I have for you today is an invitation to explore what your flaws, your saboteurs are.
Mm.
It's a beautiful, beautiful assessment that has over 500,000 people from all over the world have actually taken. It's one that is based on the work of the positive intelligence work that some of you may already know. And so I invite you to take this assessment and to find out what your top 3 saboteurs are. The reason why they're called saboteurs is because these are traits that you think are helping you, but are actually getting in your way. They may have supported you as a child, but they're no longer serving you, right? And so understanding what they are and not feeling shame around it, and understanding, oh, this is how I'm operating right now, but I can choose to shift. It's beautiful. So the first step is to understand what they are. So take the assessment, send me your results, and I'm offering to hop on a call with you so we can actually look through what these are and how they are affecting your life, getting in the way of your next level.
Wow, that's so exciting. So please do, listeners, do go along. All the links will be in the show notes and get in touch. It's an absolutely fabulous opportunity for you. You have given us so many tools, daily steps to anyone that wants to start next level living. What is your key takeaway?
My key takeaway is for any woman who knows for a fact that the life you're living today, in many ways, or maybe some ways, is a life that you're tolerating, not a life that you're celebrating. A woman who knows deep inside that there are things that you really would love to be, to do, and to have. And you know that of course, you could try and do it for the next 20 years by yourself and try figuring it out, but you're just not that kind of person who wants to waste that amount of time. You'd rather be out there creating the impact, living that life. Reach out today. It doesn't matter who you reach out to, but find someone who will support you in that process. Asking for support is not a sign of weakness. All the most successful people in the world get support, not only from one person, several people. But that's what I'm going to say, because I wasted a lot of time trying to figure things out by myself. And it's a mistake that I really invite others not to make any longer.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. So, where can the listeners find you online? What's your website?
So basically, you'll find me in the links below. So I have like a link tree website where they can find many links. They can also find me at Magni Essence on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. But in the links, you should be able to find a variety of ways to connect with me.
Thank you for sharing your insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today, and for doing the work on yourself. By doing so, you have helped so many others make a difference. I really want to acknowledge you for that. Bolutiwi Aiyesimoju. We are all about Create the Courage to be Fearless podcast here. What is your definition of courage?
Simple. Feeling the fear and doing it anyway.